Welcome, my name is Morgan Cooper. If you're reading this, you are about to hear a story of loss, betrayal, discovery, and ultimately, finding purpose in places you least expect. It is a story that began with the death of my parents, a tragedy that would unravel secrets hidden beneath the surface of my life. At the time, I thought I knew what family meant, what love looked like, and where my place in the world should be. I was wrong. This is my journey, of what was left to me, of what I uncovered, and of who I became. It all began in the spring of that year. The sky over Montana was a pale gray, heavy with rain. I still remember standing in the quiet of the courthouse when the will was read. My brother Ryan sat across the table, arms folded, face impassive. The lawyer's voice echoed in the sterile room, each word driving home a truth that would fracture the foundation of my life. To Ryan, the family mansion, the estate on Flathead Lake, with its sprawling grounds, fine art, and a history that stretched back through generations of Coopers. To me, a rundown farmhouse, barely standing, nestled deep in Bitterroot Valley. I could hardly process it. How could this be? I was their daughter, every bit as much a part of this family as Ryan. My husband, Travis, fumed beside me. "You should contest this," he whispered harshly, anger flashing in his eyes. "It's not fair, Morgan. You deserve more than this." But I couldn't speak, not yet. My mother and father had been taken from me too soon. The wound was fresh. And now this inheritance, so uneven and bewildering, seemed like a betrayal from beyond the grave. I looked at Ryan, searching his face for some glimmer of understanding, but there was none. His cold glance met mine, and for a moment, it was as if we were strangers. Travis insisted for days afterward that I challenge the will. His voice followed me through our home, through the empty spaces where my parents' absence weighed heavily. Yet something inside me hesitated. There had to be a reason for this. A reason my father had chosen to leave me that old house, and not the grand mansion I had always known. I needed answers. I needed to understand. And so, one rainy morning, I packed a bag and set out for Bitterroot Valley. The road wound through misty mountains and endless pines, the car climbing higher into the wild heart of Montana. I hadn't been to the farmhouse since I was a child. My memories of it were vague, a place of creaky floors, the scent of pine and dust, and my father's deep voice telling stories by the fire. When I arrived, the house stood weathered and weary beneath a sky bruised with clouds. Its wooden siding was faded, the porch sagging with age. Ivy curled around the eaves, and the windows stared out blankly like eyes long closed. I unlocked the door, stepping inside with a breath held tight in my chest. The air was thick with the scent of old wood and forgotten years. My footsteps echoed on the worn floorboards. Dust swirled in the pale light that filtered through half-drawn curtains. Yet beneath the decay, there was something else, a sense of weight, of history waiting to be uncovered. I could feel it in my bones. As I explored the house room by room, an odd sensation tugged at me, as though I were being watched or guided. In what must have once been my father's study, I noticed a thin seam along the base of one wall, nearly invisible beneath layers of wallpaper. Curiosity drove me to peel it back, revealing an old wooden door concealed for decades. Heart-pounding, I forced the door open. Inside was a narrow, dim room, more a hidden closet than a proper chamber. Dust coated every surface. On an ancient desk sat a single envelope yellowed with time. My name was written in my father's hand. Trembling, I broke the seal. His words poured off the page, full of love and sorrow. He spoke of the land, of its hidden worth, not just in minerals or money, but in history and legacy. He confessed that the property sat atop deposits of rare earth minerals, the kind corporations would claw and fight to obtain. But more than that, it held stories of the land and the people who had lived upon it for generations. It was for this reason, he wrote, that he had entrusted the house to me. He believed I would honor the land, preserve it, protect it, in ways that Ryan never would. My brother had always chased wealth, ambition blinding him to deeper values. My father had feared that Ryan would sell the land to the highest bidder, letting it be stripped and scarred. I sat in silence, tears streaking my cheeks. The pain of the unequal inheritance, of my father's seeming rejection now transformed. He had trusted me, believed in me. That knowledge settled into my heart like a weight and a calling. The next weeks passed in a blur of effort and discovery. I set about restoring the house, peeling back layers of dust and ruin. In the process, I learned more than I ever expected. Among old ledgers and journals, I pieced together the history of the property. Once a gathering place for the Bitterroot Salish people, later a homestead built by settlers. The land breathed with the past. Yet not all revelations were welcome. In town, whispers reached my ears. Ryan had been seen meeting with executives from Westland Development, a corporation known for its aggressive mining projects. My blood ran cold. He was trying to take the land from me to turn it into another scarred excavation site. But my father had been wise. Digging through old county records, I found proof that he had secured a historical landmark designation for the property, a legal shield making large-scale mining impossible. Without this, I would have been defenseless. With it, I had a fighting chance. Word spread through the valley. Locals who loved the land, who respected its history, began to rally around me. A retired historian named Helen offered guidance. A carpenter named Tom helped me repair the house. Even the mayor lent quiet support. Together, we dreamed of transforming the property into something greater, an education center to honor both history and nature. Westland, furious at the roadblock, began pressuring local officials. Legal challenges followed. My brother, too, fought bitterly, determined to reclaim what he saw as his birthright. The strain between us grew unbearable. At night, I would sit beneath the stars, the letter from my father in my lap, drawing strength from his words. Through each trial, I refused to bend. This land was my father's gift, his trust. I would not betray it. The battle raged for months. Courtrooms, town halls, backroom meetings. I grew stronger, my voice steadier. In time, Ryan began to waver. Perhaps guilt gnawed at him. Perhaps he saw the rising tide of community support. One cold morning, he stood before me on the porch of the farmhouse, shoulders slumped. Without apology, he withdrew his opposition. Westland soon followed. The fight was over, and so the Cooper Heritage Center was born, a place where the land could speak, where the stories of the past would be honored, and the beauty of the valley preserved. Standing beneath the tall pines, I felt a quiet peace. My father's vision had come to life. Through this unexpected inheritance, once a burden, now a blessing, I had found my purpose. I had found myself. The moral of my story is this: life does not always unfold as we expect. What seems a loss can become a gift. What begins in sorrow can end in strength. Trust in yourself, honor what matters most, and you may just uncover the purpose you were meant for.